Alright, here we go. To make this Scarecrow project, you're going to open Cricut Design Space, click on New Project, and then when your canvas comes up, you want to click on Upload, Upload so that you can find the images from my Maker library. You do need to download them first and unzip them, but once you've done that, you can click Browse, and then you just want to go find, where you save those. And there will be 3 files that you'll need to bring into Cricut Design Space. You want to bring in the red flower. So click Upload. Then I'm going to click on it and add to canvas. And then I'm going to come over here and click Upload again. Upload image. Can browse. Go back to where you have saved all the images. Click on the SVG for Scarecrow 1. Click Open. Upload. Click on that Scarecrow 1 face and add to canvas. I'm going to just move this over here. And then I'm going to click Upload again. Upload image. I'm going to browse. Go back to where I've saved all of my files. And I'm going to get the SVG for Scarecrow 2. Click Open. Upload. Click on that Scarecrow 2 face and add to canvas. And give it a few seconds to bring it in. Or maybe more than a few seconds. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to just move it down here where it's out of the way too. Now, what you'll want to do with these faces, they are grouped, but you're going to want to attach them as well. Whoops. Well, this is running really slowly today, and so for some reason I'm getting impatient. Alright, so let's click on the other Scarecrow face and attach it as well. I will try to be patient so I don't keep clicking on and off of attach. Okay, now I will say that if you need to make a larger face because you have a larger container, or a smaller face because your container is smaller, this is where you would need to do it. So once you have everything the way you want it, go ahead and click Make It. Yeah, my system has really slowed down all of a sudden. Okay. So this is going to be the circle for our flower. The rest of our flowers down here on mat 3. Now, of course, you can change the colors if you want to. No worries there. Clicking on the second mat, we've got both of our faces here. Depending on the size of your paper, you may want to switch to 8.5 by 11. You can still get both on one sheet if you don't resize. Now, if you resize, you might have to do another mat. So you're going to click Continue, and I don't have my machine connected, but you're going to connect your machine. You're going to choose whatever you're using, like cardstock, stencil, and then use your fine point blade. Okay, let's get started with our upcycled Scarecrow project. Upcycled container Scarecrow project. Not sure what to call this. This was is a Tide container, and I just took the label off, washed it out. Still maybe not quite clean, but pretty much. So you want to take the labels off all your containers, and to do that, what I do is I fill them with hot water and let them sit anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes usually. And then I've got a plastic scraper that I use in the kitchen, and I just scrape that label off, and it comes off pretty easily. Okay, so on this Tide container, this side here is smooth. This side has kind of the handle, so we don't want to use it, although we're going to paint it. This is going to be the side for the face. And I am going to use this parchment color because my thought here is that you know, when you make a scarecrow, usually you're using old faded clothes, and that parchment I think will give us that look. So before I start that though, I'm going to give this a once over with some alcohol. Not real sure if this is just residue left from the label that I didn't clean entirely off, or I've been cleaning up here in my craft studio earlier this week, and so I am not sure that it's not just possibly dust and dirt. Alright, so we're definitely getting some more of that adhesive off. So you're going to spray paint your containers after you've cleaned them. You're going to spray paint them white, and then once they've dried, you're going to take, or I took, and you don't have to do this, this is an optional step, but I took this parchment acrylic and a makeup sponge, and I just lightly painted or sponged, I guess, that parchment over top of the white. This tones down that really bright white, which is really not the fall color that we were looking for. And if you think about scarecrows, if you were making a real scarecrow, then most likely you're going to be using old and faded clothes, and so this just kind of gives it an aged look. So you want to do that first before you get any farther into your project. Alright, we have our stencils and patterns cut out, so we're ready to go on to the next phase of this project. So these are our faces, and we're going to use those as stencils, and we're going to use paint with those. The flower here, we're going to use this as a pattern, and we're just going to trace around it, and I'm going to put that to the side for now. So let's actually start with our first pattern. I think I'm going to use this bigger one, and I'm just going to cut these apart so that I don't ruin one while I'm working on the other one. Alright, so I'm just going to put that stencil down on my container, and I'm going to use some painter's tape to tape it down. Don't really want it moving while we're trying to do this. Okay. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, and this is, I'm hoping will help with the bleed a little bit, I've got a little bit of the black paint that I'm going to use over here in my palette, and I'm going to take just this very thin brush, and I'm going to just sort of brush around the edges. And I know a lot of times, and I don't stencil an awful lot, but from what I understand, bleed is an issue with stenciling, and some folks have had some luck with this. Sometimes I've heard people paint like I'm doing with Mod Podge or some kind of clear sealant. Others are doing what I'm doing, and so we're just going to see how this works. And I am moving my fingers on my left hand here to hold down this stencil as I paint, because my container is not exactly flat, and it moves. You can probably hear it popping. So I'm trying to make sure that that stencil stays as flat against the container as possible. This mouth is very thin. I may not end up having to repaint over it, because there's not going to be any way really just to do the sides. So you can see that I'm not, you know, being real particular here with this mouth. Okay, so now that we've got that done, I'm going to go back over the brows, the eyes, and the nose with a sponge just to get some good color in there. And I'm just dabbing. This is a makeup sponge. It's the same sponge I used actually when I was doing the parchment color. Okay, and I can tell already in the eyebrow area up here I've got a big glump that bled. Alright, so I'm going to try to carefully remove this stencil. Well, you know, that's not too bad considering. You see that? So we've got one little mess up here, little bleed here, some really tiny bleeds there, but overall I think it's going to work. So I'm going to set this aside and we're going to work on another one. All right, so this one is where I had a lot of that spray paint. It was down at the end of the bottle and it was okay. So the next part is to make the hats for our scarecrows, and I'm using craft felt. This is an assorted pack that I've had for a while. I think it was one of my garage sale finds. So I'm going to make 3 hats, one for each of our containers, and so I'm going to use this light tan, a brown, and then this is a very nice purple. So you could sew this, but I'm going to be using hot glue. So I've got my hot glue gun warming up here. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold your felt. You're going to take the corner from the long side and then fold it down to the opposite side so that you're forming a nice triangle here and you've got a good point right there. Okay, so this would be the seam basically. So what we're going to do, so I'm going to just fold that back, and then I'm going to run some hot glue all the way up here. So I'm going to do a little bit and then I'm going to press, because you know hot glue doesn't stay hot very long. So I'm going to run some. So I'm going to go all the way to the very tip. Press that down. Okay. So that's the seam. And then we're not going to cut this off. Nope. We are actually going, I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here just to tack that down. And that's going to sort of be the front of our hat. And we're going to put a flower there once we get those cut out. So this is one hat. So I'm going to just do the other two the same way. Okay, the next step after you have your hats made, you need one for each container, is we need to make the flowers for the hat. And that's what this pattern is for that we cut out. Or you can trace around it, or you can trace around what was cut out. And I'm going to do both just to see which way I like best. So I'm going to make a couple of red flowers with yellow centers, and then I'm going to make a yellow flower, I think, with a more red center. So I'm just going to trace around that, and I don't know why I'm tracing with red since I can't see it. Let's try another color maybe that I can see a little better. Okay. Yeah. So this is just a marker. And so I'm just going to trace around here. Now, if you've got a cutting machine, you could actually cut this felt out on the cutting machine. But I'm going to be honest with you, it makes a mess on your mat. I've done it before. Made something for a Halloween costume one year with some felt, and man, it just left my mat really messy. So I decided I would just cut this flower out because I don't think it's that intricate. I'm going to go ahead and even put this in here. Whoops, that wasn't very good. And now I'm going to do another one. So the hat that we just made will be the recipient of this flower when we get it layered up. And the flowers are pretty big compared to the containers and the hat, which is kind of a look that I like. But you can always resize any of these patterns, the flower patterns or the face patterns, either one. Okay, so I need one more. I'm going to make this one yellow. You know, last week I did a tutorial making a wreath using fabric scraps. So if you don't have craft felt like this, then it's no worries, because if you've got scraps of fabric, of cloth, then you can of course use those in place of the felt. I'm not real good at cutting a circle there, am I? Alright, so we have flowers on hats. And so the next step is to use some raffia and create some hair and stuffing, that hair and stuffing look that we see so often with scarecrows. So I'm just trying to see about how long I want this before I cut it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and glue some of this up here on the top. I'm just putting this on the lid. Now if you don't have a lid, you're going to have to come down here and do it from the sides, which I'm going to put some there too just to help hold it down. The hat will do that to some degree, but okay. Let's try a hat. Let's see what we think here with the hat. I'm going to try to cover up that little bummy place. I'm going to put just a little bit more raffia here in the front. Just want a couple of pieces. Piece cut. Where is it? Alright, so now we're going to put our hat back on. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is run some glue right here and put our hat on, hopefully before that dries. And if you want to put some more hair in the back, some more stuffing, you know, you can certainly do that, and I think I will. Just going to spread that out. So if you have a lid that is still very obviously a lid, you're going to want to try to cover that up. All right, so here is our first Scarecrow, and he's kind of cute.